Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Cohen. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to solve ACT science problems that ask about actual science. So most problems on ACT science just ask about, they test your ability to interpret scientific data and viewpoints. So they ask you about charts and graphs and passages that they give you. However, a couple of questions ask about the actual science that you're learning in school. Questions about, they test your knowledge of biology, chemistry, and physics. And these questions can be drawn from any area of any of these subjects. Basically, anything you've done in high school science is up for grabs. These questions never make up more than about 10% of any science section. They'll be anywhere from no questions about actual scientific knowledge to like maybe 3 or 4 at most. While it's true that these questions don't have a big impact on your score, you want to try and answer them correctly and pick points up on them if you can. In fact, these questions can be some of the easiest questions on the science test. The reason is that you don't actually need to know biology, physics, or chemistry to solve most of these. You just need to use your own intuition. So when you see one of these problems, you don't want to panic and move on because you don't remember, the structure of DNA or something like that. You want to stick with it, and using your own common sense, more often than not, you'll be able to solve the problem. When you see one of these problems, there's 2 steps. First, look at the answer choices and the question and see if it relates to anything discussed in the passage. Often, part of the answer will be already revealed in the passage, and some answer choices might be wrong because maybe a small part of those choices, 1 or 2 words, contradict something that's already stated in the passage. So that's the first part. The second part is when you use your own intuition and you say, now I have these answer choices left. Given what I know about the world and what I know from reading the passage and the context of the passage, which of them makes more sense? You would be surprised at how often you'll be able to figure these problems out just by asking yourself that question. So as an example, let's look at a hypothetical question that says, how does allopane gas, which I've made up, how does allopane gas affect Earth's climate? Now we have 4 choices. 2 say it heats the climate, 2 say it cools the climate, and for different reasons, each for different reasons. Okay, now first look back at the passage. Well, as it turns out, in this hypothetical passage, it says that allopane gas heats the climate, so we can cross out the 2 answer choices that say it cools the planet, and now we're just down to 2 choices, and these 2 choices each says it heats the planet for a different reason. One says allopane gas heats the planet by reflecting UV rays back into space. Okay, so just stop and say, does that make sense? Could the planet get hotter by reflecting UV rays back into space? Well, what are UV rays? Just think, where have you heard UV? Your sunglasses have UV protection. It's something that comes from the sun. Now, when you think of things that come from the sun, you tend to think of things that heat up the planet, right? At the least, it's probably nothing that's going to cool the planet. So if we're taking something that's coming from the sun and we're rejecting it, we're pushing it back out into space, would that heat up the planet? Probably not. If anything, it would probably have the opposite effect. But it certainly, there's no real reason to think it would heat things up. The other choice says it heats the planet by absorbing heat that comes up from the Earth's surface. So does that make sense? Now you have this gas, and the gas is picking up this heat that's coming from the Earth. Well, would that make the Earth's surface? So would that make the Earth as a whole more hot if you now add this gas that absorbs heat? Makes sense. it seems like a definite possibility. At least it seems like much more of a possibility than choice C, which says that the gas sends the sun's rays back out into space. So even if you don't know anything about allopane gas, about the Earth's climate and heating and cooling, about UV rays, just by taking a minute to think through the choices, both in the context of the passage as a whole and using what you know, your own common sense and intuition, you can get to the right answer. This won't necessarily work for every one of these questions, but it will work for a lot. So trust yourself, trust your own common sense and intuition, and when you see one of these questions and you don't know the answer, you don't remember it from school, don't panic, stick with it, use this process, and you're going to get a lot of them right. If you found this video helpful, please like it, share it, or subscribe to my channel, all of which will help me find more people looking for this type of content. Thanks.